We've been packing chutes all year for our drop to the Micronesian islands. We drop coastal humanitarian airdrop bundles, which includes styrofoam on the inside so we can drop them off the coast and the locals can get their supplies without possibly bringing damage to property there or hurting civilians on the islands.
My father experienced this drop when he was a little kid back in '77, I believe.
You never have too much spam.
And in that drop, he got his first pair of shoes. I get to give back to my dad's island while serving my country. And it just makes it all special for me.
Food, tools, and toys. And we'll be doing that across 56 remote islands here in the Federated States of Micronesia. Oh, it was a great privilege. You know, we've been doing this mission for more than 65 years. And from the Indo-Pacific Command perspective, as well as the Pacific Air Forces Command perspective, it's a great privilege to do something like this. What I like to see is our crews doing that kind of mission. They really enjoy doing humanitarian assistance.
Merry Christmas, Operation Christmas Drop!
This is Bruce here at University of Guam. I would like to thank our Air Force warriors for coming in for the 67th year. What I do here is I run the telecommunication network, HF radio, to those islands. It's the only communication they have since they're so remote. They don't have satellite or fiber optic cables. They never will. So the HF radio network, I contact them every day to do the news and weather, and for the Christmas drop, I can talk to the planes, coordinate the drop zones, keep them clear, safety first. We have a really good record on the safety. And be sure all the flags are up for the drop zones, be sure all the changes are notified. We get them notified right away if there's changes because of weather. So mostly run the communication and coordinate the drops for the planes and the islands every year. Ohio Gozaimasu has been doing really well the last few years. As you know, the Japanese have been joining us on the Christmas drop. Their C-130s, they just love to go out every day. They just work their tails off. They haven't missed a drop. Been really good. I enjoy talking to them, so we get a little bit of language training back and forth, and then they seem to be very cautious and very precise. They haven't missed one drop. Now the Aussies, they got a little extra fuel under their wing, as you know. That fuel line allows them, that extra fuel supply allows them to make the long runs. Yesterday they went all the way to Toby, Sansro, Kulana, down by Indonesia. We had to circle trying to get the drop zone clear, and by the time they got their box dropped, they said, I got about 1 minute left in fuel and about 1,000 miles to fly, so they hurried up and got back a few hundred miles back to the North Pole. Made it successfully. Drops were great. They retrieved all the boxes. So Aussies work really hard and long days because of the fuel lines. They got the extra fuel supply. Today they're going to Kapingamarangi. So yesterday the most southwest, today the most southeast part of our drop zone area. Over 1.5 million, 2 million square miles. Aussies are great, Japanese are great. We got our Mongolians, our Indians, our Kiwis this year also helping out and observing. Maybe they'll be joining us in the future. I've been doing it here for almost 40 years, and so the people that were kids are now adults, and they're the presidents and the college professors across the Micronesian region, so they tell me stories. Those boxes just don't come out fast enough, and we're watching when we're kids, and that's the first time I ever found shoes. The first time I saw a pair of shoes was in the box, and the first books we got were from the box. Every year, the most important thing for them is the parachute. As soon as that thing goes, they get that parachute, and now it's covering the schoolyards as a shade and covering the canoe houses to keep the canoes in good order. And everything in that box is well used. Well used. For those children and for the adults, the children especially, this is Christmas. When that C-130 rumbles over with those 4 big motors, they know Christmas is coming. The sleigh opens up that back end and those presents come out. This year has been really great. Every year for the last 40 years, I haven't missed a year. We've had typhoon years, we've had some breaks. We couldn't get all the islands. I had to get them out on canoes later on, but they always got a few islands, and almost every year that I've been doing it, we haven't missed an island. Like I go on the island, sometimes you have to walk a half a mile across a reef because it's low tide. The little canoes take your stuff in. I mean, I got cement bags, towers, and batteries and everything, and they help me bring them in. At low tide, we just drop the boat on the outside of the reef, and then we got to push the stuff in through the waves, and we walk across the reef to get there. So I know what it's like, the isolation and the remoteness of these islands. And so for me, every island I go on, they say, Brother Bruce, welcome home. Because each of these I have like family over the years. I can't count how many godchildren I have to send stuff to every year. So for me, it's a personal thing, and so I've been lucky enough with the University of Guam. They've supported me for the last 40 years, or 30 years here, and then they kicked me out when I was too old, but they still let me come back and use the tower for Christmas drop every year. So to me, it's very personal, and there's so much love, and they're so friendly in the outer islands. It's totally different from anywhere else on Earth, because especially when I come on shore, because I bring them a lot of presents every time I come on shore with the radios and solar system. So it's a personal thing for me. All 56 of these, I take care of about 68, and plus about 25 more in the Martians. So it's a lot of work, but it's well worth it. Christmas drop is just part of that, the joy of working in the outer islands. Well, this year it's interesting this year, not only because of the international cooperation and the additional countries that are joining us, but the expertise is starting to get really pretty good on this. Sometimes we have, the winds are blowing, the weather's been great. That's a big thing, that helps out. This year we've been just perfect, almost every drop. And they're getting better, the drop guys are getting better and better at them, pushing out 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 bundles at a time. That's the first time that's ever happened this year, so it's getting really unique. They're really getting good at it, and I think the word's getting out. The good news is that with Operation and people like you folks that are documenting a lot of this, it's hard to collect stuff at Christmas. So the fish hooks, the fishing line, all the scuba, all the mast fins and snorkel and the spear guns, that stuff is just vital to their well-being, to keep them going, because it's getting harder and harder. Sea level's coming up a little bit, so their islands are getting a little salt water, and the taro patches from the high waves now that they didn't have before, so Christmas drop is becoming more important if we can get them vital stuff like seeds. And we threw in bags of cement this year to raise the garden, so the sea level rises, comes over the berm, and it goes around the garden, so they have a little seed, a little plant of starters, plants that they kept in the raised garden that they can replant when the salt water leaves their taro patch. So I think every year it gets a little more important because of the environmental changes that they're experiencing. And there's not a lot of big trees. They build canoes. They don't have any transportation. And so we send them the ropes. We send them parts to keep their canoes going a few more years. Of course, the parachutes keep them out of the sun. So Christmas drop has become a vital part of their life. The C-130s in there, generally, they are the first ones to respond to humanitarian disasters, and we seem to be having quite a few disasters across the region. And I know it's really tough sometimes to free up those C-130s and get them out here from Yokota and Australia and Japan. They're used heavily. So I would like to just thank the Air Force to keep this training mission as a priority every year, and I hope to do it for another 40 years. I'm only 70-something, so I'll try to stay healthy and continue helping the Christmas drop. But thanks a lot to the Air Force. You guys do the heavy lifting. I just sit on the chair and talk story on the radio and drink a little faluba. Merry Christmas!